splitting reason your continent hides plumes from you, and in 2018, one tore a 50-foot chasm through Kenya's Rift Valley overnight. Right now, something is rising beneath you. Not an earthquake, not a tremor you'd feel on any app. A column of rock hotter than the surface of the sun, climbing silently from 2,000 miles below your feet. You haven't felt it, you won't. That's exactly how it stays hidden. Scientists call them mantle plumes, and here is what they don't put in the press release. These invisible columns of heat don't just sit there. They split continents apart, not over millions of years, over centuries, sometimes decades. The continent hiding one from you right now isn't doing it by accident. The ground beneath your feet is a lid, a thick, cold lid sitting over something that is actively trying to push through. Africa is living this right now. In March of 2018, a road in Kenya cracked overnight. A chasm 50 feet wide appeared by morning. Nobody predicted it. Nobody warned them. Here is what geologists found when they looked deeper. The East African Rift isn't just a surface crack. It's the first visible proof that Africa is being torn into two separate landmasses by a plume rising from the core mantle boundary. The Afar Triangle, that sunken depression in Ethiopia where three tectonic plates pull away from each other, is essentially the birth canal of a future ocean. In 10 million years, that land will be underwater. A new sea where people once built roads, but the plume responsible has been hidden under the continent for 60 million years, pushing, waiting, slowly thinning the lithosphere from underneath like heat dissolving wax. And here's the part that should unsettle you. The reason you've never felt it is because the continent absorbs the energy. Your ground takes the blow so you don't have to, but there's only so much a lid can take. Now stop, because you probably just pictured Africa, far away. Someone else's problem, but Yellowstone sits directly above a mantle plume, one that has erupted catastrophically 3 times, 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, 640,000 years ago. You see the rhythm. The caldera floor rises and falls by inches every single year, not from shifting plates but from the plume breathing beneath it. In 2004, the caldera rose nearly 3 inches in 12 months. 3 inches doesn't sound like much until you understand what it signals. The lid is thinning. The plume doesn't negotiate with your timeline. This is where the science becomes something else entirely. Mantle plumes don't announce themselves. They hide inside a continent's geology, masked by the weight of rock above, distorted by tectonic movement around them, and the continent itself becomes their camouflage. A thick lithospheric plate insulates the heat signature from the surface. You'd see nothing. No anomalous readings, no warning, nothing until the lid begins to buckle. And by then the process is already deep into its endgame. What makes plumes truly terrifying isn't their size, it's their memory. The Deccan Traps in India, a volcanic province covering 200,000 square miles, were produced by the Reunion plume roughly 66 million years ago. That eruption lasted hundreds of thousands of years. It pumped enough sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere to collapse food chains on a planetary scale. Some researchers believe it didn't just contribute to the end Cretaceous extinction. It may have been the actual engine behind it, not the asteroid alone. A plume, hidden under what is now the Indian subcontinent, patient building pressure, then venting for 300,000 years straight. The rock record proves it, the continents prove it, but the Reunion plume itself, it moved on. Right now it sits beneath Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean, still climbing, still patient. Still doing what it has been doing for 66 million years. So what does that mean right now? Geophysicists are mapping 2 massive structures sitting at the core mantle boundary, one beneath Africa, one beneath the Pacific, each the size of a continent. They're called large, low shear velocity provinces, LLSVPs. Every major mantle plume active on Earth today rises from the edges of these 2 structures. But what they actually are, ancient subducted ocean floor, chemical reservoirs billions of years old, something we have no category for yet nobody agrees. We can feel their output at the surface. We cannot see inside them. The planet's engine room is still locked, and sitting directly above the African LLSVP right now is an entire continent in the early stages of tearing itself in two. But here is the question nobody has answered. If the reunion plume survived 66 million years without exhausting itself, and if Africa is currently being driven apart by multiple rising plumes at once, and if this process always ends the same way, open ocean where land used to be, then the question isn't whether your continent is hiding a plume. The question is how far the process has already gone, and whether the ground you stood on this morning was, in some precise geological sense, already becoming the floor of the next ocean.